My mother once said to me, this was in fact the day I was marrying Mark, and she said, this is going to be one of the most important moments of your life. Absorb it. So I'm just trying to absorb it right now, and I'm seeing so many people out in the audience that I just have such incredible awe and respect for. So, wow. So it's a little daunting to follow both Amer and Bob in general, because not only are they two of my dear friends, but two of the most beloved and accomplished members of this society. Bob, I'm so delighted that you're being recognized tonight for the Distinguished Service Award. You've had so many contributions, and Amer did such an incredible job of painting the picture that's Bob Feldman. Just awesome. Thank you. I've had the pleasure of working very closely with Bob on a number of committees, and I have to say, I've never had a co-chair who carried his weight and more like Bob does. Really has been amazing. And you also do everything so generously with your wisdom and your wit. And I was blown away by your speech. It was as provocative as I knew it would be. And I'm sure, like I just speak for all of us in this room, that thank you so much for that call to action. And to all the former Hall of Fame and Distinguished Service honorees, it's a real thrill to be in your company. It's been just a life of idolizing so many of you, and so to be standing here tonight is really something. And Amer, your visionary leadership as our chair has been an amazing gift to us all. It's been really like a milestone in Page, as has Roger's leadership, as Bob so wisely called out. And I want to thank, of course, Bill Nielsen and the Page Honors Committee for honoring me here. When I saw the news release that was announcing this award, I was struck by a quote from Bill Nielsen describing me as a prolific thinker. And of course, that got me thinking. I'm flattered by this characterization, and I hope my thinking has influenced Page and the broader profession, but what's really influenced me is I'm a prolific believer. And so on this special occasion tonight, I'd like to share 6 beliefs with you. Einstein once said, the most important decision we make is whether we believe we live in a friendly or a hostile universe. When you look at the world these days, it's easy to believe that hostility rules, but I believe we live in a friendly universe. Right now, with the hostility and of course, many things Bob just shared with us, the way information and misinformation are being weaponized, the way that private information is being hacked and exploited, the never-ending parade of scandals and abuses of authority, it feels like hostility all around us. And maybe I'm just a bred-in-the-bone optimist, but I refuse to concede to this hostility and that it represents the universe's fundamental nature. Rather, I believe it's simply evidence that society is not currently organized in a way that allows friendliness to shine. Here on Earth, we experience the universe through people, and people are wired to search for meaning. That's humanity's defining trait. We want to feel we're continually growing and achieving, that our efforts matter. I believe the negativity that surrounds us today stems from a deficit of personal and professional purpose. In today's hectic and harried world, many people are searching for the sense of social connectedness that they once experienced through things like their neighborhoods and their churches. This is a huge opportunity for companies to step up to fill the void. People want to be part of something bigger than themselves, and this leads me to my second belief. I believe companies can transform the world. Large companies, like the ones served by the Page Society, are among the world's most powerful forces. It's up to us to make sure they're forces for good. And we've had so much discussion around the importance of a company and the purpose of a corporation, and I don't want to rehash that here. However, I do want to point out what I think is often overlooked, and it is something that Stacey Jones touched on earlier today. People spend the majority of their waking hours at work. So at their best, companies provide more than just a paycheck. They provide a community, a place to bring one's greatest gifts, energy, and passion. At their best, companies create peace and satisfaction in believing that our time spent at work matters. When done well, this is where people come together to collaborate, find personal fulfillment, and together make their mark on the world. After all, a company is ultimately a collection of people. Amer mentioned my experience as Chief Communication Officer at Navistar, and I really debated whether to talk about that tonight because that was nearly 2 decades ago. And it's like, what's she dragging that up for now? Well, I'm raising it because that experience and the inspiration I took away was a turning point in my life, and it's still really relevant today. Today we were talking about so many of the same things that we were dealing with at Navistar 2 decades ago. And as Amer mentioned, Navistar was an icon of American industrial history. The company was founded in the 1830s as International Harvester, and at the time it was one of the 3 most recognized brands in the world. However, by the early 90s, the company was beaten down and exhausted. We'd gone through 6 failed labor negotiations, our brand was colossally damaged, and our stock was in the tank. During the worst of our struggles, tempers ran hot and fingers pointed in every direction. We used to call this the Navistar handshake. I remember once being told that we couldn't take our CEO to a meeting on a plant floor for fear he'd get pelted with tomatoes. It was a hostile universe. 5 years later, when we turned around the company, we'd achieved more than improved performance and profitability. We made the universe a little friendlier. Thousands of people who'd been trapped in spirals of resentment, frustration, and malaise discovered purpose and meaning in their work. The most rewarding part of what we accomplished was hearing people talk about how, as their pride in the work increased, they became better. Not just better employees, but better spouses, better parents, better friends, better community members, and better citizens. That's when I realized our company's vision for Gagen MacDonald to help transform the companies that transform the world. So that leads me to my third belief. Our biggest opportunities exist in the white space between functional silos. Companies face such complex challenges these days, and we talked about them all day today. Speeding innovation, building agile cultures, meeting evolving customer expectations, while of course delivering quarterly results in an era of radical transparency and mistrust. And we talked about how overwhelming all this is. None of these challenges have a clear owner or live in a functional silo. These kinds of issues can only be solved by tapping into the diversity of perspectives and experiences. So let's go back to Navistar. On its surface, our turnaround story was about first-time quality. We were at 2%. That means, yes, 98 out of 100 trucks that came off our lines needed rework. We had football fields full of trucks waiting for repairs. Every day the repair lot grew, morale declined, and our bottom line suffered. When I was hired as CCO, our CEO told me my job was to change the name of the company. He said his wife was tired of hearing the fact that the Wall Street Journal only referred to us as beleaguered Navistar. Well, as I dug into the issue, it became clear to me that our name wouldn't be fixed by a better perception. We needed a better reality. And that reality hinged on quality. To improve quality, we did an enormous amount of research, and I'm proud to say it was with the validity and reliability that would make our academic brethren proud. Our goal was to better understand the roots of our issues, and what the research told us was stunning in its simplicity. Everything came down to respect for people. Over the course of our struggles, we'd lost a sense of respect between management and frontline employees. Lack of respect bred lack of pride bred lack of execution. Poor execution meant more quality issues. To treat people with respect, we needed to acknowledge their intelligence and expertise and bring their perspective into the solution. When we created avenues to collaboratively develop and test new ideas, our processes and execution got better. Not only did performance improve, so did engagement. With greater engagement came more improvement. It was a virtuous cycle that started with culture change. We called it Climate for Performance. I found that the problems I've often felt most proud of tackling and the solutions I felt most proud of pioneering have been the ones that were bigger than my job description. At Navistar, I was originally hired to direct our communication efforts. Instead, we utilized culture to restore respect, brand to restore pride, and predictive analytics to show the causal relationship, yes, causal, between specific leadership behaviors and better operating performance, such as increasing quality and decreasing absenteeism. This wasn't my original remit, and 25 years ago, culture, brand, and predictive analytics weren't the buzzy topics they are today. But they got us to the heart of the problem and to the best solution. We just needed to make everyone think bigger to get there. This leads me to my fourth belief. I believe we need to define communication in its broadest sense. At Gagen MacDonald, we're often asked to help our clients design the communication function of the future. And as part of that, we've been fortunate to interview hundreds of top executives to understand their view and expectations of communication, why it exists, what it does, what it serves to accomplish, how it can help them achieve their results. Guess what? We've learned that our C-suite colleagues view communication through the lens of the individual with whom they most frequently interface. So if you present an expansive skill set and a broad set of capabilities, you'll get asked to use them. So many of us see the fact that nobody understands what we do as a curse. I think it's a blessing. And a lot of the work that Roger talked about today with our new report, the CCO as Pacesetter, is getting at exactly that. All of us should be pushing our teams to define our scope more broadly. We're already seeing that when we don't claim the bigger space, someone else does. Navistar's CEO, John Horn, once told me that when it came to titles, he didn't know what to call me. And then he thought about it and he said, but you know what? I always call you. And one of my greatest career highlights was when he unexpectedly announced at a leadership conference that communication is not a staff function, it's an operating function. Why? Because we were driving the company performance. I've learned through experience that communication crosses all, if not most, domains. So I encourage all of us to break free, thinking of communication in its traditional sense. If you look at my career pedigree, you'd agree I'm a functional mutt. I've worked in finance, HR, operations, including running oil spill response for British Petroleum. Thank God I got out of that job when I did. I've been an executive and an entrepreneur for organizations large and small. I draw on the skills I acquired in each of these different roles all the time. They've made me a better communicator and, as importantly, a sharper business person and a better leader. So when I started Gagen, I was determined to build a team with expansive collective intelligence. In addition to experts in communication, HR, and leadership, we brought in people with backgrounds in neuroscience and linguistics, former lawyers and former poets, people with degrees ranging from MBAs to systems management to industrial psychology. Individually, we look at problems differently. Collectively, it pushes us to think bigger. Gagen MacDonald is truly an ensemble cast. Everything we've accomplished, I owe to my amazing colleagues, some of whom date all the way back to our Navistar days. I wouldn't be here tonight if it weren't for their collective intelligence. We've been on a mission of a lifetime, and I learned something new in every conversation. So my fifth belief, I believe we need to let go. Amer mentioned Let Go and Lead. 10 years ago, to explore the relationship between change, leadership, and individual growth, I launched a digital community, which is evolved into a podcast. In it, I speak with business leaders, academics, and creative thinkers to hear about their career and life journey and gather what they've learned about change, transformation, and creativity along the way. In every interview, I ask a common question. What do you think leaders most need to let go of? Certain responses come up quite frequently. The need to make things manageable, the need to have all the answers, the need to feel busy, the need to hang on to the past. Only one answer has been nearly universal. Leaders need to let go of the need to control. As individuals and as companies, the world today moves too fast and in such dynamic networks that control's an illusion. We all know that. So this leaves us two choices. One, we can entrench ourselves in old behaviors and power structures and try to ride out the storm. Or two, we can loosen the reins. Only when we choose the latter does personal or organizational transformation become possible. This is my life's work. So what's next? I'm working with my Gagen colleagues to continue to pioneer new ways to help leaders think about their role in transformation and engagement. We're currently experimenting with how we can learn from nature. For example, we all know that caterpillars become butterflies. I'm fascinated by the fact that a living being is capable of transforming itself into something entirely new. What makes that possible? Something called imaginal cells. Imaginal cells live in a caterpillar, but they're the blueprint for a butterfly. At the point when a caterpillar is ready to transform while other aspects of its body dissolve into goo, imaginal cells find each other. They connect, they expand, and eventually a butterfly emerges. A butterfly. Not a better caterpillar. That's real transformation. And so the Imaginal Cell's my next adventure. We're taking the leadership workshops in which many of you have participated to a heightened place. A place where people can slow down, learn from nature, understand their personal energy, and discover the Imaginal cells that reside within all of us. It's only when these cells come to life that we can truly let go and lead. And only when we let go and lead can we truly manifest what each of us was uniquely built for. So you may be saying to yourself, using nature to better understand leadership? Interesting. But why discuss that here and why now? Well, I've learned through experience that whenever I've put my intent out into this friendly universe, the universe will conspire to make it happen. And people come forward to help. So I'm going to share one of our latest crazy projects with you. My team's probably going to go, oh, I can't believe she's going there. Like everyone in this room, our firm continually explores how to make better use of technology, and I thought Alan Mark's presentation today was absolutely fantastic. We're looking at how to build that ComTech stack, and we're continually getting better and better at new ways of engagement and in doing our jobs. But and Alan touched on this too, I don't think that technology is the final frontier. I believe the more technology takes over our jobs of doing, the more our real work as humans will be centered on being. Our greatest work is internal to ourselves. That's where I believe we have much to learn from nature and the collective intelligence that nature can bring to us. My team and I have been piloting integrating nature into several of our workshops. One small but important pilot project that we've got underway is how to use horses to mirror our leadership intent and energy, to teach us to be mindful of our nonverbal communication and to take us back to that 10-year-old authentic self that many of us have buried along the way. My intent in this work is that it will inform our core work, much as Let Go and Lead has done for us. Again, we're reaching into other domains to define communication in its broadest sense. Many of you have patiently encouraged this idea, and many of you have said, when I call, you'll be along for the ride. And so my sixth and final belief for the night. I believe we all need a posse. We need those people who believe in us, will ride with us, and will push us to be as amazing as we were made to be. My gratitude for my posse would take hours to fully express, so let me just say this. To my husband of 35 years, Mark, my daughters Morgan and Killian, and my son-in-law, Tom, I'm forever grateful for your incredible love and support for me and for all my crazy entrepreneurial endeavors. And Mark, as you know, my mother once told me, you'll meet many men for whom you could love, but marry the man that brings out what you love about yourself. And thank you for that for 35 years. To my Gagen colleagues, thank you for always staying ahead of me and always having my back. And to all my kindred spirits at the Page Society, it's been an honor to work with so many of you to help make this world a better place. I'm forever grateful that I get to manifest this friendly universe with you. Thank you.